What's going on, guys? We're back here again at Black Ops Defense. We were here once before, about 5-6 months ago, talking about MP5 stuff. But we're here to talk about some other cool things they got going on. So I'm here again with Wes. Wes, thanks for having me back again.
Sure,
Wes,
good to see you.
What do we got going on the table here today?
So, still working on the MP5. It'll be done soon. We're getting really close. It's ready for test firing here soon, and we'll get it wrapped up. In the meanwhile, you sort of brought us an MR 556. We squeezed that in there while we were working on the MP5. So that we have ready for you today. So that's done. We can talk about that. Talk a little bit about what we did for you, and of course show the final product to everybody. So again, you brought us just a completely plain factory HK MR 556 rifle, and we transformed it into a custom version of the 416. So again, let's talk a little bit about what we did for you. So on that gun, we stripped it down, removed all the factory anodizing. We have to sand out the old markings and sort of smooth them out. We do all the prep stages necessary for anodizing. I should note again that this is anodizing, not Cerakote or Duracoat. That's oftentimes what people do when they refinish these guns because it's a whole lot easier. The anodizing process is very time consuming and sort of frustrating when you're talking about custom sort of one-off things like this. But we're getting there. We're getting our procedures are getting better and better each time, and we were able to get it done for you, obviously. And as you can see with your final product here, it comes out really good.
Yeah,
if you put the time into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do a separate video after this, going over everything in a lot of detail, but you'll see it here today as a quick glimpse. It came out really
Yeah,
nice.
this will be a good general rundown of the different things we do and what's going on, and then you can talk more about your gun in your follow-up video. So, yeah, again, what other things we did for you too was the barrel work. We cut the barrel down for you and did some barrel threading. We modified the gas block so that it will work. All the other little finishing touches, take it all apart, put it all back together again, kind of fit the parts and that sort of thing. So the laser engraving is something a lot of people like because we actually are able to change the model name. We can't mess with the serial number and certain other things, but we can actually change it to whatever model name you're looking for. So 416, 416D, that sort of thing. And we were able to do that for you as well. And you can take a look, get to close-ups and stuff, and you'll be able to see how they come out, which is really super close to the factory look. We use a fiber laser for that, and we sort of meticulously make these computer files to be as close as we can possibly get and overlay them over top of original markings whenever we can, that sort of thing, to really try to mimic it as best we can. So, we can do custom date codes, and, we can even add the third position marking to the lower if you want it to have the full auto marking. Whether it's a machine gun or not, it won't matter, but if you want that look, we can actually add that now. And at the very end, we do the white and red infill on them to make them look like factory. So, so as you can see, they come out really good, but it is a lot of work. So as always, as most of the things we do, it is a lot of work.
Great. I mean, you can definitely tell. Again, we'll see it close up, but you can definitely tell the time and attention to detail that goes into these builds. And once you see them, you really will get an appreciation for everything that's going on and is involved with these. Because really, I was telling Wes off camera, it's really like a work of art. I mean, it really, they come out so good and so much like an original gun that you would get from HK and not in America, in overseas in Germany, that it's just, if you're into this thing, you're into it, and it's worth it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, I guess. Like we talked about a little bit the last time, we try to make versions of these guns that HK won't sell you. So, since they don't do a tan version, and they don't do, a lot of the features that people want and stuff. They don't do SBRs and they don't do pistols, or these are not typically. There are a few things floating around that have made it their way into the country and that sort of thing, but generally speaking, it's not readily available. So we're offering it. So yeah, that's
great.
Where we're at.
All right, let's take a look at some stuff here. All right, so since we're still on 416s, let's get into some details. What else we got? Give me some particulars on 416 builds.
Sure. All right, so let me show you what we're doing here. So basically, we already mentioned the anodizing and laser engraving, that sort of thing. And one of the things that's pretty popular with a lot of our customers is to do the A5 or A7 or MR223 version or modifications to the gun, which mean basically ambidextrous. So it's HK's sort of latest version of the 416, and we do a cutout in the receiver, and that allows you to use their sort of proprietary ambidextrous bolt release. And then a lot of the other parts are just parts, and you can just buy them and put them in. But that one actually requires modifying the receiver to work. So that's something we're doing now. We're offering it on standard receivers. This is just a Brownells receiver. The customer just wanted the machining done so they could use the ambi release, and then we'll touch it up and make it look less noticeable, and the laser engraving as well for him. And then most customers though are having us do the machining and then also all the refinishing and work in the anodizing and remarking. The other big thing is of course the color change. On the A5 specifically, they're typically all tan and accessorized completely different with different stock, different grip, different sights, different foregrip, etc. The A5 actually has a specific adjustable gas block as well, and they're pretty rare. Actually, they're extremely rare in the U.S. You just kind of can't get those. It's not something that HK typically sells in the U.S. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. But we are actually working on potentially doing our own version of the adjustable A5 gas block. So that's a potential new product from us. And another new product from us related to that, which is pretty exciting, which a lot of people already know about, is our version of the A5 ambidextrous lower receiver. So this would be essentially a clone of the 416A5 or MR223 ambidextrous receiver with that cutout already made and the little sort of protrusions or blocking features that are specific to the A5, a different cut, different angle to the magwell and so on. And that way you could have someday, eventually, once this fully is launched and we're actually selling these regularly, you'll have a way to build sort of a true A5. So those are coming. That's pretty exciting when it comes to the A5 stuff. Of course, we're doing every other version of the 416. I mean, like I said, you can do the D, you can do even the 416C we're working on, which is the super short, the super short front end, the super short gas system. It's actually even shorter than the normal gas system with the collapsible stock and all of that stuff. What we're working on is trying to figure out a way to, if we can, make it work where we actually can move the gas system back on a standard barrel and reprofile and do some of the machine work to make it work. There's multiple complications, but hopefully we can figure out something because we think that would be a good way to make it happen. Otherwise, you'd have to go to an aftermarket barrel or get lucky enough to find an original German barrel or whatever. So it should make it a little more cost effective, and in the end, you do still have the German barrel, you still have the HK barrel. So that's something that's coming soon. I don't have much to show you, unfortunately, for the 416C, but again, it's all sort of future stuff.
All right, so while we're still on barrels and gas blocks and things, what other details are going on with just a standard MR556?
Sure.
What are you doing
Sure.
with those?
One of the most popular things that people have done is just to have their barrel work done or have their barrel cut down. So if someone's doing an SBR build, which is usually what it is, which is what yours is as well, we'll cut the barrels down, thread them and crown them and clean them up and do them to the sort of HK length. When you do that, typically you won't get as much gas through your gas block now because you don't have as much length. So you have to do some modifications to your gas block, or you have to buy a different gas block. So you can use a 416 gas block that's specifically meant for the short barrel 416D, like I keep mentioning, or we can actually modify the MR gas block. You can weld them shut and re-drill them to a smaller port size, which gets you closer to what it would be to have a vented 416D gas block on your gun. And this is a gas block that's kind of in progress here. It's welded and everything and ready for drilling. So that was all part of what we did for yours as well.
All right, so that's really great to have that option because maybe not everybody wants to or has the ability to go out and buy a complete MR556 because they're also can be hard to come by.
Right.
So to be able to come to you and get the pieces to make one sort of from scratch, have any plans in the works to do upper receivers to kind of get that whole thing together?
Right, so to go with the lowers, you would need to source either an original 416 upper, a Brownells upper. Brownells did uppers and lowers for a while, or one of the other companies out there that's doing uppers. And there will be some of our sort of friends in the business that are going to be doing some additional parts for this, for these kinds of builds to be able to do scratch builds like barrels and some of those hard to find small parts. Some of those small parts we have, and we're working on trying to get. I mentioned the gas block earlier, the ambidextrous bolt release, ambidextrous mag release, and so on. Stuff that's specific to the HK 416 line. But yes, specifically the uppers, things are in the works, either from us or from some of the other guys we work closely with.
All right, so we just talked about all the 416 stuff.
Yep.
What do we got going on with the big beauties behind those? What do we have
Right,
here?
so the 308 gas piston HKs. So that's some of our newest stuff as well. In fact, I'll show you today our newest service. It's one that everyone's been waiting for quite a while now. So with the 308 versions, we're doing primarily the G28 DMR or different sort of versions of the 417. And we'll get into it here in just a minute, but we're actually going to be offering the M110 DMR, SDMR conversions.
Great.
So with the G28, basically it's heavily just parts. It's just accessorizing in the G28 sort of style with the different handguard and the buttstock and all the small bits that go on, which are all very difficult to find, like most of this stuff. But if you can get it all together, we offer the services then to make the rifle into the G28, or make it look like the G28, I guess I should say. So the G28 uppers are Duracoated or Cerakoted, the sort of Rally 1000 tan paint color, and the lowers are anodized, because that's how the factory G28s are.
Okay.
Factory G28s have a steel upper, so they can't be anodized, so they're painted. That's why they're weird two-tone like that. These are, of course, just MR 762s, so they're painted to look like the steel uppers. And then again, the laser engraving, the white and red infill at the end on the selector markings, the cutout in the case deflector like the G28 has, all the little stuff, all the deep engraving on the upper. So it's a lot of little things to try to really get all those details.
So just
in there.
like the 416, you're taking that attention to detail with this line to get all the details as close to factory.
As close as we can, yeah. So you can have, in a way, it's a clone because it's not a real G28, but it is an H&K. But in that same respect, we're just trying to do as many of those little things as we can to really get as close as we can.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things we can't do. We can't change the serial number, so we can't mess with the serial number prefix and stuff like that for the guys who really get detailed about it. But we'll do as many things as we can do, and we can remark the model name from MR762 to G28 or M110 or 417, have you.
Great. Okay. So moving on from there, what else? What do we got here on this second?
So what I have here is actually just a custom version of a standard 91 rifle that we're calling the MSG28. So it's sort of not something HK ever did, but it's a very colorful and accessorized version of what you can do, modernized version of what you can do with the 91. So it's sort of a cross between the old MSG 90 and the new G28 that I just mentioned. And that's kind of what we did here. We were inspired heavily by some stuff we saw by another company called German Gunworks.
Okay. All right, then I think last but not least, the big unveil, the thing that you've been working on for a while. So what do we got here?
With this, essentially, this is the US's version, the US military's version of the G28. So this is what the US military had HK build for them as their DMR. So the SDMR done for, again, the US military. So what they did was they took, like we talked about earlier with the 416, they took the ambidextrous version of the 417 and they adapted it to what their needs were. So it's an ambidextrous version like the A5. It has different features on the upper. There's no forward assist. Other features have been removed to lighten it. The top rail is different, and so on. And they're all features that are built or not built into the receivers that you can't get. These are features you can't get that HK doesn't sell to civilians at all in the U.S. So what we're doing is we're actually taking the regular receiver, making those modifications to it, machining out the areas that need to be machined out for the ambidextrous features, and taking it even one step farther than that and even adding material on. So it's something, as far as I know, no one's ever really tried before, or no one else out there does. I haven't heard of anybody doing it, I've never seen anybody doing it, but we do have some proprietary welding techniques that allow us to weld onto 70-75 aluminum, which typically you can't do. It does cracking and all sorts of other things. That, with this technique, it doesn't at all. And we're able to machine it and make it look well factory. You know, we machine it out. Once the material's been added on, we can machine it out. We can file it down and clean it up and really make it look like it came that way. I mean, you can see on the rifle. You can see on the rifle itself the areas where we took the features away, like the forward assist, and you can't even tell it was ever there. So it's pretty amazing what we were able to get done with it, and we should be able to start offering this here actually within the next few weeks, by the time this video comes out.
Yeah, that is really impressive. I think really cool because, again, something that is not available on the market, and you seem to be the only guys that are going to
found a way to make it work. Yeah, we found a way to make it happen. Yeah.
So I see you got a couple examples here of some receivers. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So
a
again,
bit.
still talking about the ambidextrous stuff. And still talking about the M110, or what would be the 417A2. So the advanced or later model version of the 417. So they would start out as a standard receiver, and you can see what we've done here. We sort of plopped a bunch of weld on there, like I said, with our sort of proprietary welding techniques I keep mentioning, and then we started. You can see this one's been started. We start the machining process there and kind of clean it all up. And this has a long way to go yet. But once it's all been machined out, and then it's mostly handwork from there. Once you get it close, it starts to look like this. Where it's much smaller and much more refined shape, and you just keep working on it and working on the material until it's close, and many coats of primer and sanding and cleanup, which sort of brings me to an important point about that particular version. These ambidextrous versions, or these M110 A1 versions of the MR 762s, will not be able to be anodized. So it's the only downside we can really kind of come to here, is that it can't be anodized because the welded areas come out splotchy and sort of blemished and stuff, so it just doesn't work, unfortunately. So it is a spray-on finish. It's a spray-on firearms finish, like a lot of the other guns we do, but it won't. Unfortunately, it won't be and can't be anodized. So that's the extensive work that's done on the M110. The rest of it, again, back to the accessories and the handguard and the scope and all the bits you need to really make it look like the M110. It's a matter of sourcing the certain parts. We can do a little bit here and there as far as like maybe painting the buttstock, for example, because the tan standard wide buttstocks are just extremely difficult to find in the U.S. if at all. And so, unfortunately, since it's not available, we can paint them. So there's certain stuff we can do to get it as close as we can. So looking as close as we can get it to the M110. So that's what we've done.
All right, guys, so that ends this episode here at Black Ops Defense. You saw all the cool things going on with the 416s, 417s, M110s, all the stuff. Be on the lookout for a video coming up soon on a detailed overview of my 416 that I had done here. We'll go over everything, all the build specifics, and why I chose what I chose. But I want to thank Wes again at Black Ops Defense for having me come down, check everything out, and go over these builds to show you guys.
Sure.
So thanks again, Wes, and hope to do it again soon.
Sure. Thanks for coming down.
All right.
Good to see you.
Thanks. All right, guys. See you next time.